Hello, it is Homo Manning doing my 2020 NBA annually playoff predictions. Just want to let y'all know I'm not a super fan. I don't watch every single game, mostly Rockets, Lakers, Bucks games, but I do watch the highlights and look up every single game for the most part. But don't think I watch every single game and I can give you an in-depth analysis like I do with the NFL. That said, I'm pretty accurate on my predictions every year. I've predicted the last two finals correct in terms of who makes it. I got the Cavs getting swept by the Warriors right. However, I said the Warriors in six versus the Raptors when the Raptors won in six, but I didn't know KD would get injured. Anyways, with that said, let's get into it. One more thing though before we get into it. Thunder could be the fourth seed or the Rockets could be the fourth seed, but whether they're fourth or fifth, it's not going to determine the bracket at all. So I could be wrong. Right now, I just have the Thunder as the fourth seed. Right now, there's like a few games left, but they're not going to determine anything for the NBA playoff, but that the Thunder and Rockets might get switched. But they're 4 and 5, so they really can't, it won't affect anything. Anyways, Eastern Conference first round, I have the Bucks 4-0. I think the Magic are a better team than the last year's Pistons in the playoffs, which I should also mention, when the NBA playoffs happen, I do watch every game. There's nothing like NBA playoffs compared to the regular season. It seems like in the preseason they go half, 50%, regular season they go about 80%, and then the playoffs 100%. But anyways, I just don't think you could stop Giannis, and he swept his way. Um, well, it was a gentleman's sweep last year with the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I just don't think the Magic are good enough to get a game. They are on the rise with young talent, though, with Mo Bamba and Fultz. They got those high draft picks, but not one's really been proven, they could lead a team yet. All right, Eastern Conference first round. I have another sweep, Raptors and the Nets. Raptors are surprisingly still doing good without Kawhi. Nets, I mean, no Kyrie, no DeAndre Jordan, no KD. No one really has any faith in this team, and they probably don't even have faith in themselves. Um, they could have lost every single game in the bubble and still made the playoffs. That's how weak the East is. So I have a sweep here. I will be shocked if the Nets even get one win. Next, we have the Celtics and the Sixers. These guys had a classic clash, not really a classic clash. The Celtics won in five in the second round 2 years back, but it's always a fun matchup when these two teams go against each other. Obviously, this time, well, last time they didn't have Kyrie either, but now, Kemba looks like he's a better team player than Kyrie was. And, Brad Stevens, one of the best coaches in the NBA. Sixers, I'm losing faith in the process. I'm not trusting the process anymore. If Sixers win this, I'll be somewhat shocked, but not generally. I have Celtics in six. Tatum's looking to be a young stud. Well, he is a young stud. He's looking to be the future. Next, I have the Miami Heat in five versus the Indiana Pacers. Pacers, no Oladipo, and as of right now, no Domantas Sabonis. They're being led by Warren, Brogdon, and Turner. But Jimmy Buckets has just had a fantastic year. Surprisingly, I knew they would make the playoffs, or I was pretty confident they'd make the playoffs, but to be above teams like the Sixers, that's pretty good right there. I have a gentleman sweep here in five because the Pacers, regardless of all the players they lost, they're not a bad team. And if they get Sabonis back, they could definitely bring the series to 6 or 7. Western Conference first round. I have the Lakers versus the Trailblazers. Lakers in four. I love Dame time, but you can't really guard LeBron and AD. It's as simple as that. Moving on. It wouldn't surprise me though if the Trailblazers got to win. Next, we have the Clippers and the Mavericks. I have the Clippers in six, but I believe in Luka Magic. I believe him and Porzingis can pull off at least 2 wins, but I don't see this going past any more games than six. Honestly, it could be a sweep. It could be a gentleman's sweep. Clippers just don't. Without Lou Williams, I lost confidence in them to go super far and dominate in this playoff run. And that said, Clippers in six for me. Western Conference first round, I have the Jazz in a somewhat shocker, not a complete shocker, winning in seven. I feel like this is arguably one of the best playoff matchups in this whole bracket. I believe Nikola Jokic was an underrated MVP this year and last year, especially last year. Jamal Murray's only improved, but for the Jazz, I believe in Donovan Mitchell. This is the guy who ruined the Big Three season, a few years back, and this team led by Mitchell and the best defensive player of all time, Rudy Gobert, who shut down the whole league. Um, I don't know. I think Gobert could shut down Jokic. He could stop those fadeaways. Um, and yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the Nuggets won, but I'm gonna go bold here and say Jazz in seven. Last matchup of the Western Conference first round, and again, these could be switched. It could be Rockets fourth, or it could be Thunder fifth. We haven't seen their last games, but man, I'm finally think I'm gonna be right, and I'm gonna finally say Westbrook gets past the first round. Last 2 years, I predicted he does, and I was wrong. But I feel like this year I'm gonna be right. I just think the Rockets are a way better team. Yeah, they play small ball. They don't really have a big man, but Thunder, I just I don't have faith in them. Yeah, they're young. They're pretty young outside of, CP3 and Gallinari, but I just think the Rockets are a way better shooting team, and you just when Westbrook and Harden get going, you can't stop them. Even though Westbrook is said to be out for at least 1 or 2 games, I think Westbrook's finally on a good shooting team, and Harden's just a dominant offensive playmaker. Rockets in six. Eastern Conference second round, I have another sweep here. I feel like Giannis is mad as crap right now. He's just gonna blow past the Heat. I don't really think the Heat have anyone to stop them, and the Bucks just have a lot of shooters around Giannis. And yeah, I don't see you at least. I mean, if they could maybe take it to a gentleman's sweep in 5 games, but I don't know. I'm gonna go bold here and say Giannis goes with the playoffs, starts with the playoffs 8-0. Next in the Eastern Conference second round. Now, this, in my opinion, may just be the best in the whole um, playoffs, the best series. I was back and forth on who and who. Obviously, I have it going 7 games, but I'm going to roll with the Raptors. If you look at last year's playoffs, I think this game's going to come down to not Kyle Lowry or Siakam or Tatum or Kemba. I think it's going to come down to those underrated dogs on the team. For the Raptors, I feel like that's Fred VanVleet. And for the Celtics, I think that's Enes Kanter. Both guys were very important in last year's playoff runs for their teams. Kanter was on the Trailblazers, but he was the MVP, arguably not naming, their stars that really pushed them forward after the Nurkic injury. Meanwhile, with the Raptors, VanVleet was just going off in the NBA Finals and in the conference finals. His shooting percentages were probably way better than Curry and Clay's. I don't have a stat for you, but in the end, I'm gonna roll with VanVleet over Kanter because I feel like those are gonna be the difference makers rather than their each team's big two. Arguably, you could say big three with the Celtics. But yeah, I just think the Raptors are still a good team without Kawhi, but obviously they'd be better with Kawhi. Western Conference second round, I have the Lakers in five. For the simple reason, Rockets play small ball. I don't think you're gonna be able to go far when you have to play Anthony Davis. But being as if they do have Harden, who's a supreme offensive scorer, I feel like they could at max get 1 win. Western Conference second round, I have Clippers in six over the 6 seed Jazz. I just I don't I mean I don't count out Donovan Mitchell. The guy's a young stud for his height, and for being a shooting guard, he still is an offensive playmaker. And Gobert, super underrated. May not get the buckets, but he is extremely good as a rim protector. Clippers, though, like I said, maybe if they had Lou Williams, I would, I've watched in years past as when the Rockets face the Thunders in the playoffs. Lou Williams is a scorer. He is a six man of the year for a reason. I think he has like 2 or 3 awards. He's very valuable, extremely valuable. And without him, I just don't see the Clippers dominating as they would usually do with a roster with PG and Kawhi. But that said, I still think Clippers are going to win because, I believe in Kawhi. That's why I did predict last year he would shut out Giannis. He's one of the few players who can actually shut out Giannis. Anyways, Eastern Conference Finals. Giannis, in my opinion, will lose his first game to the Toronto Raptors. And yeah, I just don't see them going to six. I think the Bucks are supremely the better team, like very better. I'm sorry about my grammar here. They are a way better team. Shooting from each side is pretty even, but Bucks, I mean, name somebody who's going to guard Giannis. Siakam hasn't been that bad on defense, but they don't really have a guy who could just shut out Giannis like, Kawhi, like they did last year. Kawhi was the huge difference maker last year. Um, yeah, he had help, but now when you lose a stud like Kawhi, you're gonna lose some games you should have won. And the Bucks, they only got better from what they did last year, so I have them in 5, and their conference only got worse. So yeah, Bucks in 5. In the Western Conference Finals, I have Lakers in 5. Now, even with Lou Williams, I think I probably still would have sided with the Clippers, but probably only in like 6. But or 6 or 7. But it's funny if the whole COVID thing wasn't going on, this it would have been in the same stadium the whole series. That would have been cool to watch. But it still is going to be in the same thing in the bubble. But I have Lakers in 5. I just I just think LeBron and AD are a way better duo than PG and Kawhi. NBA Finals. I hate to say it, but the Lakers are going to win in 6. I just think the Lakers are one of the best teams we've seen in years. Not including the Warriors with KD, Clay, Draymond, and Curry. Outside of them, they're probably the second best team I've seen in years. Yeah, they're not going to have um, some players who've opted out, but they're still a good team. Even without a good depth, they'd still make it far because LeBron and AD are 2 of the top 5 players in the world. So my prediction this year is Lakers in 6. I'm 2 for 2 for predicting the teams that go to the finals. This isn't really that much of a bold prediction. It's the first seed in each conference. But hey, tell me what y'all think in the comments. I read all comments, and yeah, thanks for watching.